Hello. I promise you I'm not a wanted criminal, I just look like one. Um, I have this question I ask a lot of people. The question goes like this. What do Bill Gates, Mukesh Ambani, Lakshmi Mittal, the guy who owns the printing press that prints all the Being Human t-shirts, what do they have in common? And I've got a lot of answers, right? So I've got one answer that says they all looked a lot better before they became billionaires. I've got an answer that says 7 is the lucky number of all of them. Whatever, I've accepted those. I've even got more interesting answers, like for example, that none of them is ever likely to take a Virar fast local train, which again is right, but probably not the answer I was looking for. The commonality, of course, is that they are extremely rich, very, very rich. There's one more thing that is common to them. And this is that none of them has made their billions creating something funny. Even if you do think some older versions of Internet Explorer were a joke, none of them have made their millions selling humor. I am here today to hopefully convince all of you that it is possible to make billions writing jokes, making people laugh. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vaibhav Devanathan, and I'd like to talk to you today about how humor is omnipresent and that humor can transform lives and can make money. This is my thesis. Let me talk first, let me take an example that is familiar to all of us. You know, we often think, any of us often thinks that when we get a picture, a funny picture on our phones or a WhatsApp forward or whatever, that we should, look at it, laugh for like 2 seconds or groan for 3 seconds, delete it, forget about it. We think that it's light, easily consumed, not important. But that's not true, because the people who create this, let's say a 9gag, which creates funny pictures, curates funny pictures, or a BuzzFeed, which owes a lot of its virality to humor, or the Cheeseburger Network, which creates all those amusing cats that we forward. So those people have received $3 million, $30 million, $300 million in funding. So humorous content, even when it has no ulterior motive except to make people laugh, that is very valuable. And I think we are convinced that the next revolution is in WhatsApp forwards. Not exactly this. They make you laugh, but not with them. But here's what I see happening. Within a year or so, these won't be the innocent good morning messages that you mute groups for. They will be branded messages, right? So the day is not too far when you'll get a message like this saying good morning, and in the footer, but have you had your good day yet? Or share this picture to save this person's life. But just in case you need a backup, you should probably think of XYZ life insurance. Or this is probably the most cheesy forward you've ever received, but it can't compare to our double burst pizza. So all these, we will see huge branded content in WhatsApp soon. It's a multi-million-dollar industry, and enjoy these while you have them, because you might not have them for very long. That's my first example, right? So these are case studies we've seen working. Humorous content being used to drive engagement, earn money. Let's take another example. From when we're born, right, we're surrounded by people telling us to do stuff. Don't drink and drive, drive safely, don't honk, sit here, sit there, don't eat this, eat that. And all this advice is good for us, but since we've been told to do it by people telling us to do it and nothing else, we develop this instinct which very good waiters develop of never actually seeing you when you're trying to grab their attention, right? So we never see these signs, we never pay attention to them, and they end up not passing on their message to us. Let me give you an example of something that has gone viral multiple times. So this, it's maybe not the best of humor. Some of those are really witty, some of those are just weird rhymes. But these are from the Border Roads organization, and these are messages that are given all over the country, but often in a much more boring fashion, right? So what we've seen is that let's take all the signs everywhere in India, right? Every road, every office, every mall, every college, everywhere. Imagine if these signs were humorous. Imagine the impact that would be made on the minds of people looking at them. Because when you laugh with something, you started accepting it, it stays in your mind, it changes how you view that instruction. It becomes a friend telling you to do something rather than someone, a superior ordering you to do something. That has transformative power as well. And given that there are so many signs across India that need improvement, it's a huge business opportunity. That's my second example. Let's go from, these still seem logical, right? So you have content, you have public service announcements. It's a no-brainer. Make them funny, people will flock to them. But let's talk about action movies for an instant, right? So I believe that there are two types of action movies. Those that take themselves too seriously, and those that make a lot of money. The first kind often sees, for example, this, where a single hand pump can bring a country to its knees if wielded by the right person. To a lot of other movies where the people lose the plot and think that an action movie is all about the explosions and the 1 foot of daylight between the hero's fist and the villain's face. That's not necessarily what an action movie is about. And you should do this experiment. Go to IMDb, look up 2 action movies or a site which actually records box office. Take 2 movies with similar budgets, similar special effects budgets, similar levels of Rajinikanth in both, because you want to be fair. So when you compare these 2 movies, just figure out which made more money. You will see, and I've done this experiment, that in most cases, the action films which had a wisecracking hero, so the hero or heroine is facing a multitude, a horde of villains and certain death, and then they look at the camera and spout one-liner which makes you laugh. You'll see that action movies need comedy. They need humor to make more money than they would otherwise have made. Whether it's an Expendables or a Dabangg or a Rush Hour, action movies need the laughs to make money. And they've known this for a long time. It's just us that are slower to, incorporate humor into other fields. Let's talk about politics for an instant, just for an instant. So, in the US, right, politics makes a lot of people very rich. I guess things aren't that different elsewhere. But in the US, political humor is a separate sector almost. So you have companies that specialize in doing satire around the time of election, or that specialize in releasing viral videos of a candidate's opponent saying something not very clever, right? And that's an industry that thrives, and that's an industry we don't have formally in India today. And there could be a bunch of reasons for that. One could be that some of our politicians, they are so good at creating humor when they open their mouths that they don't need to outsource it at all, right? But I believe that it's just an idea that hasn't yet, for which the time hasn't yet come. I foresee that going forward, as interest in politics grows, I foresee that political humor in India, it's already huge everywhere else in the world, but in India, political humor will be huge. And I don't think there's a problem of lack of money to pay the humorists. So So that's definitely one opportunity. So I've talked about 4 areas in which humor can be used, right? I've talked about content, I've talked about public service announcements, I've talked about action movies, I've talked about politics. And these are as different from each other as 4 things can possibly be. And I want to leave you with something really serious, something that where humor can transform in a way that it cannot anywhere else. So 3 phrases. The first is stress attacks. The second is Monday mornings. And the third is packed calendars. I'm guessing that most of us would associate these with any of us who work on a job or in the corporate sector. But if you look at it carefully, it's something that's true of most children nowadays, right? They work longer hours than most CEOs. They have stress attacks because you have to get more than 95% or the world will explode. And they have Monday mornings because everyone has Monday mornings. So what I do with my team at LaughGuru is create humor that helps children learn better, right? And we've seen that this is something that has greater potential than pretty much any other area. Because imagine this, imagine for an instant a world where children could learn as well as they do otherwise. You know, get the same marks, get the same level of understanding, get the same everything. But do it in a way that left them feeling happy at the end of it, instead of leaving them feeling as if they just wanted to get out of school as quickly as possible. We imagine that world and we think that it can come sooner rather than later if we use humor. So in conclusion, if you take one thought away from today's session, I'd like it to be this, and I'll cram in 3 thoughts because it's easier. I'd like it to be this: humor is money, humor is powerful, humor is transformative. Thank you very much.